So I'm really not a nervous kind of guy. As you can see, I'm pretty extroverted. I like talking to people. I like to talk really fast, run on sentences, ranting about a million different things. But recently, and I put it up on my blog, I'm kind of excited, but I'm kind of like freaking out excited. You know, there's the freaking out excited that like you meet some hot chick, you go on a couple dates, but then you begin to freak out as the dates keep going on. Never actually happened to me, but you know, I'm thinking that that's what would happen if I did meet a hot chick who I went out on more than 2 dates with. So this guy, this stand-up comedian in Israel, contacted me, said he wanted to collaborate, do a show, whatever. Didn't really know. Sent me the email. It's all good. So I'm gonna be doing some rant at his show. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I don't think I could do the whole ha ha ha, that was very funny kind of thing. I can't speak and then wait for people to laugh. My mind wouldn't work. I'd just stop and be like, oh, I lost my train of thought. I have no idea what I'm talking about now. So he said, no, stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is kind of complicated. You just get up and do your thing. And I'm like, doing my thing is like ranting about things like shull and medieval architecture and the, engineering feats, to, complete the Transcontinental Railroad. I don't know what can go into a rant. So I was thinking about, I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. Like, get out there. Maybe there'll be some people who can somehow get me paid or something. Maybe I'll make some money. I don't know. I made $150 so far from this whole thing. And but the more I thought about it, the more I realized I'm getting up in front of an audience of probably mostly single people who live in Washington Heights. It takes place in Washington Heights in the Sinai Show on November 8th, by the way. You can look at frumsatire.net to see that. And, I'm going to be up there. And then I realized there's got to be at least 3 or 4 people I dated in the Heights, and probably half of those people had to be mildly offended by my mannerisms. I don't know. Everyone seems to get offended because I'm blunt. I have no tact. They say I don't have tact. I think it's growing up with like a 70-year-old man in the house, and that was it. It was me, the 70-year-old man. My little brother is like this little tiny dude. So my mom died when I was young, so we had all men in this house, this little like 600 square foot, shack on the Upper West Side. I know no shacks on the Upper West Side, but it's like if they saw the inside of our house and they knew we lived there, they probably would evict us. That's how ghetto it was. So, like your redneck, if you wash your paper plates, my old man washes his paper plates. So that's how ghetto it was. So anyway, I'm going to be up there, and there's going to be these girls in the audience. These girls aren't, they're not going to, they'll read the thing, like, oh, there's an event in the Heights, whatever, we'll play some Jewish geography, it's all good, it's only $15. And they wouldn't have realized that the guest of honor was me, and they're sitting there like, this guy looks so freaking familiar. And then they're turning like, dude, that's that dude from Frum Satire you went out with, man. And I'll be like, oh, man, and I'll see them too. And other people will say, dude, just think about everyone in their underwear. What could be the big deal? And I'm like, first of all, there's a lot of people in the Heights I wouldn't want to see in their underwear. Like all the YU grads. No offense to you guys or nothing, but don't swing that way. And, there's plenty of girls I wouldn't want to see in their underwear, so maybe it'll go both ways. I'll be sitting up the lectern. I hope it's a lectern, because if I'm going to be picturing people in the underwear, you don't want to be, like, walking around and be like, yeah, hey, I'm Hesh. If it's a stender, that's why stenders were created. Stenders were created to prevent the embarrassing middle of Shmona Esrei hard-on, effect, It's kind of like when you're davening Musaf for Yom Kippur and you just think about the wrong... Musaf for Yom Kippur is always the same. They tell you, you're like, all these sins you did, you're going to clap and clap and clap, and you sit there and you're like, oh, she was so hot. Oh, and you're like, no, and you're trying to clap and get it out and like force it out of your system. There should be someone who walks around, just hits you in the head. They know, you can tell when someone's sitting there, they're clapping, they're mid-clap, and they're just like looking up, pondering. Usually it could be two things. It's either they're horny and they just thought about some sexual experience they had in the last 6 months, or they're looking around to see who's done, so that when they sit down, it's not like they're the first one. Because if you're the first one, everyone's like, he didn't really daven. It's like that in high school. In high school, I never really davened, so I always had to look around. I'm like, oh, he's done. It's 1, 2, and you see someone take 3 steps back, and you go back right after them. It's all good. So all these people are not going to realize in the audience, and they're going to realize when I'm up there. So it's like, I know one girl, we missed each other coming back, and then it was just like, we kind of, never talked to each other again after our first date, even though she wanted another date. I didn't really want another date, but it was one of those. So one of those where, we're going to go out for another one, because they were entertaining enough to maybe spend a weeknight that you would have spent a loan instead. One of those, So, not one that you would take out to La Marais, but one you might be willing to splurge on the Starbucks thing. So, or take a walk in Fort Tryon Park. I don't know what people do in Washington Heights. I know there's a Starbucks on the corner, there's a Dunkin' Donuts, maybe you go hang out in the schoolyard by Broyers, I don't know. So, there's that aspect. There's also the aspect of people getting offended. Because the problem is, with ADD, you really don't know what you're going to say. You're going to start rambling, and you're bound to say something to offend someone. And I don't know if they do the whole cabbage thing in Jewish events, but I know that, Kolumnik, the guy doing the show, made fun of JOFA last year, and people got really pissed. JOFA is the Jewish Orthodox Feminist Alliance, which I kind of like, I don't know if I have a thing for feminists, but, it always makes things interesting. It's like a challenge almost, I don't really have such strong opinions on, like, most people, the second you hear feminist, Hillary Clinton, Gloria Steinem, Blue Greenberg, whatever, they go freaking berserk. It's like walking into a shtiebel and saying something to the line of, Bush sucks. It's the same thing. It's like, what did you just say? Yeah, well, I'm going to put on my freaking tefillin, and you can't stop me. Yeah, so what if I drive to shul on Shabbos? It's fine, because I'm going to rap them, because I want to make a point. It's like that. People get very, very enraged over those things. So I'm just kind of, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. People usually have something to talk about. He said, you can take notes. And I'm like, notes don't work. I can't do notes. It was like when I did speeches in college. I would just ramble. I would write my speech, and then it just went out the window. But it was perfect, because most people who do speeches in college, they put up a PowerPoint, and they read off the PowerPoint. I was always like, dude, professor, are you going to let this? This is like a mockery of the whole industry of, university. This is like, this person's coming in here reading off their thing, and I'm sitting here putting in my time, pissing in my pants, pretending people are in their underwear just to get through my speech. It's wrong. So, I'd like to see you all there. I kind of don't want to see you all there, because it's like you're expecting something, and I'm not it. So, maybe you shouldn't come, but it's only like $15. It's on Thursday, November 8th in the Sinai Shul. Check out my blog. It's on there. You can email me, frumsatire@gmail.com, and yeah, that's it.